أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول كريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. This section continues the reflection on justice. One of Allah's names is Al-Adl, and as I noted before, Al-Adl or Adala conveys the meaning that everything has been put by Allah into its right, into its proper place, according to its needs, according to its abilities, to its nature, to its relation to other beings. Everything, every being in the universe has been created in the most proper way. That is what the meaning of Adala conveys and implies. To put everything in its proper place, every event, every occurrence, every being in the universe, every creation is created according to Allah's quality of being Al-Adl, the all just, the absolutely fair, the one who puts everything into its proper and appropriate place. So Adala is not simply equality, that everyone gets the same thing, but it's a more personal understanding, a more intimate presence of Allah's quality in our lives. If you think of two flowers, for example, and there are many, many thousands of flowers on this planet, each one of them has distinct needs. So one flower needs, for example, we often read it from the labels, needs moderate amount of water. Another flower needs great amount of water for its growth and its development and its flourishing and thriving. This is what each flower needs, their unique amount and measurement of water. And Allah has created everything in exact measure. That everything in the universe is created according to His adala, to His being the all just, the absolute just. So this one flower needs a certain amount, and Allah sends that certain amount of water for its specific development and growth and maturation. And the other flower needs a bigger volume of water, depending on its nature, depending on its uniqueness. And that's what adala essentially means. Because if you give them the same amount of water, that's not really an expression of adala. That's actually an expression of zulm, of oppression, of injustice, because that flower did not need that much water. And that much water has actually killed that flower, even though the intention of the water was, giving that water was to facilitate growth and development. But if we give them the same amount, that's not really an expression of adala. So adala goes further. Adala goes deeper. Allah being the one who gives everyone and every being the perfect amount of their needs. And that's called the measuring out. That's why Muslims affirm a belief in al-qadar. Al-qadar means to measure out perfectly. That every event in my life, every occurrence, everything in this universe, every creation, every test, every trial is measured out according to Allah's adala, His mizan, His scale. That nothing is sent down into my life, nothing shows up in my life, or I'm not encountering any event or any hardship that has not passed Allah's ability of measuring out. Because this is what the book of the universe is constantly showing us, proving to us that each and every being not only receives according to their needs and abilities to thrive and develop, but it's also in proper relationship with other beings in this what we called complex web of life, that biodiversity, that each and every being has a unique place in that multiplicity of the creation. And that is such an amazing fact. It should make us marvel and be in awe constantly, in awe of Allah's quality of being Al-Adl, the all just, the one who gives every being and answers to every being according to their needs and their desires and their faculties and abilities. And that special attention, that special care, that sensitive care, that fine-tuned care and placement of every being into the creational paradigm or framework is what is a testament to Allah's justice. Nothing is outside that framework of Allah's divine justice. So if you look at the human being, for the human being also receives according to Allah's quality of being Al-Adl, the all just, the complete just, but has been also given the freedom to place himself or herself into this divine framework of justice. If we don't do so, then we overstep Allah's boundaries and everything falls into imbalance, into chaos, into anarchy, confusion, disruption. And because everything is so fine-tuned, Allah calls the human being to establish justice, to walk on this earth, knowing that they are part of this amazing web of life, and that each of our behaviors, each of our actions and thoughts and feelings has an impact on this cosmic community. And that's why living a life of balance, living a life of wisdom and is basically honoring Allah's name, Al-Adl. The way to honor Allah is to live in accordance with His divine names, to respect those divine names as they are displayed and amplified in the universe. So this Quranic verse tells us in chapter 35, and the firmament has He raised high, and He has set up the balance of justice, in order that you may not transgress due balance, so establish weight with justice and fall not short in the balance. So this is an invitation, a call from Allah. And we need to heed this divine call, because ultimately when we do not maintain the balance of justice that Allah has established, when we transgress, when we fall short, we have committed a crime against the creation. And the creation, this cosmic community, becomes angry at us because we are disturbing their lives. We are disrupting their sacred balance. So we are called to live in balance and in harmony with Allah's sacred boundaries. And if we do so, we have honored Allah. We have honored and we have become conscious, fully conscious and aware and mindful of Allah's name, Al-Adl, the one who is just. So justice shows up in our lives, in our micro actions, the way we talk, the way we feel, the way we conduct ourselves in our homes, how much water we use, how much food we eat, what kind of food we eat, how we buy our food even. All of these things feed into and have an impact onto the creation, the cosmic community. And so it's essential how the human being walks and conducts himself, herself in this world. So this verse and many other verses in the Quran indicate 4 degrees and 4 sorts of balance, showing its immensity and supreme importance in the universe. Yes, just as there is no wastefulness in anything, so in nothing is there true injustice and imbalance. The cleanliness and purification proceeding from the name of Most Holy, one of Allah's names is Al-Quddus, the Most Holy, cleans and makes beautiful all the beings in the universe. So long as human's dirty hand does not interfere, there is no true uncleanliness or ugliness in anything. So you may understand how basic to human life are the principles of justice, frugality, and cleanliness, which are truth of the Quran and Islamic principles. And know how closely connected with the universe are the injunctions of the Quran, having spread their firm roots everywhere, and that it is impossible to destroy those truths, as it is impossible to destroy the universe and change its form. So the book of the universe explains the Quran to us. When Allah talks about balance and the measuring out and the measurements and the qadar, qadar basically means that everything is measured out, everything is in perfect harmony with each other, living in balance with each other, thriving together, supporting one another, embracing one another, relying on one another, responding to each other's needs. All of this system, this law, we always call it the natural laws, but the question, who is the lawgiver? Who established these laws? Remains. Allah established these laws, and He calls us to respect these divine laws by being in sync and in harmony and in flow with His name, Al-Adl. And so those are the undeniable facts, the undeniable truth of the Quran, that we will not find anything that feels out of balance or wasteful or unclean. Allah has established such a system that there is no dirt, that there is no waste, that there is no injustice. So that is the challenge, the divine invitation to the human being, that we do not interfere, that we do not create uncleanliness or ugliness, that we try to strive to make everything beautiful, that we live in harmony with all the other creation. And then we arrive at peace. One of the names of Allah is As-Salam. He is peace. He is the source of peace. We always say after the prayer, Allahumma antas salam wa minkas salam. Oh Allah, you are peace, and from you comes peace. In order to connect myself to Allah's name as Salam, to display Allah's name as Salam, I need to be in peace with myself, strive to be in peace with my community, my family, and the creation, the cosmic community. All the beings in the universe are sacred worshippers of Allah, glorifying Him, remembering Him, doing sacred work. They take pride and joy in being servants of Allah. They are the ones who display Allah's sacred names, the most holy. Nothing in the universe is dirty or wasteful or unclean. Allah's name, the most holy, Al-Quddus, calls us to be pure and clean. Not just cleaning our bodies, but purifying our hearts and minds from any kind of filthy information, from any kind of inappropriate, destructive, negative thought. And when we have that, when feeling, thinking align, then it also translates into sacred action. But it starts first here, how we feel and we think about these names of Allah, how we ponder about them. And then we make a commitment to live in peace and not to have a selfish agenda and to just think about instant gratification and our instant worldly desires. But how can I live a life that is connected to all what is in the universe, at peace. And to arrive at that peace is a lifelong journey, because there is the pressures of our nafs, our ego, our lower ego, our lower self that does not want to heed the divine call. There are the pressures of maybe our family at times who has different views on how to live a worldly life. And then there's society and community who has also a certain pressure. And then there's shaitan, temptations of the devil that is also challenging us and tempting us. So it's not easy to arrive at that peace, but with Allah's permission and help, wisdom and mercy, we can overcome these challenges and trying to bring all our inner feelings and thoughts into peace and harmony so that they align with Allah's name, As-Salam, that they align and are in harmony with Allah's name, Al-Adl, the most just. So then you are really in tune, in harmony and in sync with the sacred creation that constantly shows us how to be at peace. When we fully surrender, when we are fully devoted to Allah in all of our aspects of life, thinking, feeling, acting, the way we treat ourselves, our bodies, the way we treat our families, the way we treat our neighbors and our community, then it flows into the universe. The way we look at the creation, at trees, at birds, how we treat them with respect and dignity, seeing their inherent sacredness, affirming their inherent sanctity. That is how to honor Allah's name, most holy, Al-Quddus, because Allah is pure. If Allah is pure, if Allah is Al-Quddus and holy, how do we honor those names? By living into these Quranic truths. And we can take our inspiration from the book of the universe. How do they live? How are they connected? How are they in relationship with each other? None of them is abusing the rights of another being. There is no struggle or survival of the fittest. This is not what we get, that impression that we get when we step into nature. The overwhelming impression that we receive in message is one of harmony and peace. And that's why it feels so nurturing and nourishing to our soul. Because we are feeling how they are manifesting the names of Allah. They are all connected on the basis of Tawheed, on the oneness of Allah. And that's how they respect each other and support each other on that journey, because they see and acknowledge each other's sacredness. That means when we learn about Allah, when we have a true understanding of who Allah is, then we can also respect the other beings and help them to become who they are meant to be. Because each of us is Allah's creation. To honor Allah is to honor His creation. That is the ultimate expression of love, the ultimate expression of worship. Ya Allah, you have created this being, and because I love you, I will serve this being. That's why Allah ordered the angels to prostrate in front of Prophet Adam, the first human being, peace be upon him, because it's an expression of their love towards him. Adam is a manifestation of his beautiful qualities. So how do we get there? So when it's a careful reading of the Quran's beautiful truth, and then seeing these truths manifested in the creation, the principles of justice, frugality, qana'a. Frugality means contentment, not to be wasteful in anything, not to waste words, not to waste thought, not to waste feelings. And the Prophet ﷺ teaches us that contentment is a never exhausted treasure. Al-qana'a kanzun la yafna. What a beautiful wisdom he imparts in us. When we are content and frugal, we are the richest people in our hearts, because we say we have so more than enough. We have so much. We've been blessed with so many things. We are the richest people. We have been blessed with so many blessings by Allah. And Allah tells us if you were to count the blessings of Allah, you would never be able to finish. Our ability, just the blessing of existence, the highest level of existence, of human life, the ability to feel and think and be creative, be a creative force in the universe, to contribute to life. And so our sacred call is, how do we live into these principles of justice, frugality, and cleanliness, which are the seeds, which are Islamic principles? Without them, everything falls apart. So it really starts in our own personal lives. And these Quranic truths, it says here, they are rooted everywhere. We see their roots everywhere. Is it at all possible that although hundreds of comprehensive truths like these three vast lights, such as mercy, grace, and preservation, require and necessitate the resurrection of the dead and the hereafter, powerful and all-encompassing truths like mercy, favor, justice, wisdom, frugality, and cleanliness, which govern in the universe and all beings, should be transformed into unkindness, tyranny, lack of wisdom, wastefulness, uncleanliness, and futility, through there being no hereafter and the resurrection not occurring? SubhanAllah, right? This is, if there's no hereafter, if there's no akhirah, no afterlife, if there's no judgment day, if there is no supreme tribunal where every human being will be held accountable, then this world, this life is an utter waste, which basically fundamentally contradicts what we are witnessing in the universe. It would be ugly if there would be no hereafter. It would be completely unjust. It would be tyrannical if there is no supreme tribunal. All the innocent lives lost, never received an ounce of justice. All the dictators and tyrants and evil people who insisted on wrongdoing and harmed millions and massacred so many, they leave this world without ever being held accountable. That is utter injustice. That is complete injustice. That is tyranny. That is waste. That is ugly and impure. But he says here that is impossible, because we see all these comprehensive truths that Allah's mercy is all around us. His compassion is displayed in the universe. You look at a bird's nest. You look up at the trees, the top of the trees, and you see these beautiful nests made by bird. How is it possible that they are building those? Where did they get the engineering skills, the architectural skills, the knowledge, the wisdom to build it on this tiny branch on the top of the tree? Who endows them with the knowledge and skill? Who allows them to build these beautiful protective shelters for their children? Compassion, Allah's encompassing mercy, His favor, His rahmah. How else are these birds, these little animals, these insects able to care for themselves? How are they even able to collaborate, communicate, to build and thrive? Who clothes, who dresses those animals in the cold winter, knowing that the season is coming and they need a special fur, and then some of the animals are changed and dressed for the winter season? Those are evident truth. It's Allah's encompassing mercy and Allah's encompassing favor and justice and wisdom. But if there's no hereafter, if there's no afterlife, if there's no judgment day, then there is no mercy, because the crown of creation, the human being, has not received it here, has not seen absolute justice, is in constant miserable state, in a condition, experiencing hurt and harm, witnessing cruelties and atrocities done to other fellow human beings, that will be absolutely unjust, absolutely wasteful, absolutely lack of wisdom, and it's a lack of mercy. Because those innocent people are crying out for justice, crying out for mercy, crying out for help and support. So not only our existential feelings and our emotions cry out for absolute justice or absolute mercy and favor, but all around us, the universe is telling us that justice is at play, that justice is working, that justice and Allah's compassion is at work. But when it comes to human beings, it's deferred, because some of the crimes are just too big, too great, that any worldly court can ever deal with that. Some of the crimes are just so horrific, they need to go to the Supreme Tribunal. Even sometimes when we hear the worldly courts and then hear the verdict, it still doesn't feel just. It still doesn't feel just. Right? One person comes massacred, how many people, and they get to live in prison their whole life. Whereas all the loved ones are still in continued state of suffering and trauma. So even here, we don't feel, even with those verdicts, we don't feel justice is served. SubhanAllah, there's an absolute void when it comes to human actions. Yet we know that there is a place, because our desires are, our feelings are signals from Allah, constantly signaling us there's more to this, that this is not the correct right state, that this is not appropriate, that witnessing injustices is not right. It's completely wrong and something needs to be done about it. So our inner signs, our feelings call for that afterlife, call for that supreme tribunal, for that great court where all these horrific crimes will be dealt with by the greatest judge, who has recorded every detail, thought, feeling, action, even in the secret, darkest night. How do we know? Because Allah's name, Al-Hafiz, the preserver, the recorder, the protector, that name is evident to all of us. Constantly what we witness is a preservation, a protection, a saving, a recording of all the DNA of creation. Nothing is lost, nothing is wasted. Everything is perfectly recorded. Alhamdulillah. That day will come where Allah says, like He says in the Quran, that even if it's in a weight of an atom, you will see what you have earned and what you have committed. Even if that evil or good is in the weight of a little atom, you will see what you've received. That day will come. That has been conveyed to us through numerous prophets, messengers of God, who have conveyed the same message over and over. So there is a huge chain of trustful, reliable, absolutely authentic, genuine messengers of Allah who have sacrificed their lives for this truth, who have given everything for this truth, for this message. They suffered rejection, they suffered abuse, they were persecuted, they became homeless, they went into exile, they were ridiculed, they were offered all worldly things to stay away from this truth and message, but yet they still insisted that this message is from God. believe in God and believe in the hereafter. That is the same consistent message all over, and has been verified by so many billions and billions of believers around the world, scholars and saints and the pious. There is no doubt. There's no doubt that the hereafter exists. Absolutely impossible to think otherwise. It's not rational in the sense that it can be perceived with our senses that we see, because that it would be too open and easy to believe. But we see with our eyes, with the eyes of our hearts, and it's not irrational. Right? It's completely, it's not rational in the sense that you can perceive it with your senses, in the sense of touching and seeing, but your reason, it's a huge possibility, highly high possibility. I mean, there's actually everything else is an impossibility. This is not just a high possibility, but it's a verified truth that has been conveyed to us for so many generations. So many messengers, so many prophets and saints and scholars. And the book of the universe, too, is constantly showing us that there is reason embedded in the universe. Somebody operates with high intricate rationality, high mathematical order. Nothing can be outside of that order. The human being thinks is in a delusional state, in denial, that he can act the way he wants and think the way he wants and feel and do, right? And chase all these selfish desires and the thirst for power and worldly wealth, whatever that is. But ultimately, Allah tells us over and over in the Quran, and the book of the universe testifies that Allah will show his complete and absolute justice in the hereafter. That our actions are carefully recorded, preserved, and that Allah will show us here. That's all recorded. Do you deny? And nobody can deny, right? Here in my phone, a little chip has the information of thousands of libraries. It's not impossible. The more the age advances, the more science progresses, we realize that this is not impossible. This is perfectly possible to save all the information in a little chip. That chip will be run on Judgment Day, and then we'll be witnessing our whole lives. A little slideshow where we will not be able to deny or censor anything. So God forbid, 100,000 times God forbid, would a mercy and wisdom which compassionately preserve the rights of life of a fly violate the countless rights of life of all conscious beings and the numberless rights of numberless beings through not bringing about the resurrection. And if one may say so, would a splendid dominicality which displays infinite sensitivity and care in its mercy and compassion and justice and wisdom, and a divine sovereignty which adorns the universe with his endless wondrous arts and bounties, in order to display his perfections and make himself known and loved, permit there to be no resurrection, which would reduce to nothing the value of creatures and all their perfections and make them denied. God forbid. An absolute beauty such as that clearly would not permit such absolute ugliness. Yes, one who wants to deny the hereafter must first deny all the world and all its truth. Otherwise, the world, together with all its truth, will give him the lie with 100,000 tongues, proving the compounded nature of his lie. The 10th word proves with certain evidences that the existence of the hereafter is as definite and indubitable as the existence of this world. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.